Hey guys, I'm Layla. Welcome to raidlore Stories. Today's lore story is going to be for Urost the Soulcage, who I believe you get in the Doom Tower. So I hope you guys enjoy the story. Urost the Soulcage was born in the fecient horrors of the Bilebog, a bleak expanse of mire found near the eastern coast of Anhel. Becoming a petty dabbler in dark magics early in his adult life, Urost was seized by an inquisitor passing through his home village, but managed to escape. Panicking, Urost knew that fleeing to the Bilebog meant almost certain death, but fancied a better fate than a flame to the Inquisitor's pyre. Into the marshes he went and was never heard from again, at least in his human form. Unspeakable things occurred to Urost within the Bilebog remains unknown. The dismal swamp was said to have grown over the site of an ancient battle between elves and demon spawn. The slaughter was so great, and the powers unleashed so intense, that over time the marshland developed a sentence of its own, albeit one trapped to the bounds of the former battlefield. In Urost, however, it discovered the possibility of escape. Once the being that had formerly been known as Urost re-emerged from the marshes, he was unrecognizable. The spirit of the Bilebog itself had entered into him, overwhelming both his body and soul and poisoning him with its festering evil. At last, the sentence of the accursed place had found a way to break the bounds of its own imprisonment and spread itself far and wide, using the subverted agency of Urost's soul. Urost was imprisoned within the soul cage, a frame formed from the loamy bedrock, the gnarled, worm-gnawed roots, and the stinking ooze of the marshes. Trapped in unspeakable agony, his physical body and infected soul acted as a vessel for the Bilebog's parasitic sentence. Shambling and stomping out, he made for his home. Terrified and desperate, his former friends and fellow villagers fled before him in terror. He wandered the moors and the hills, racking with pain, unconsciously spreading the poison of the marshes and causing the Bilebog to break its borders and expand. News of the monster of the Bilebog spread, and the same inquisitor who had first chased off Urost returned to destroy the beast. In the battle that followed, the Inquisitor's followers were rotted down to mulch by Urost's toxic miasma, or had their bones smashed and flesh pulverized by his great fists. The Inquisitor was snatched up and consumed in the dripping maw-hole of the horror. In that moment, Urost knew release. His spirit was free to disappear into Talera's ley lines, his place within the soul cage taken by the shrieking Inquisitor's soul. Now was his turn to endure as the Bilebog's vessel. Those not learned in the dark magics that had given birth to the Bilebog sentence knew nothing of the exchange of souls. To those who had heard of the monster's legend, it was still Urost, the poor fool who had dabbled in the arcane and paid the price. So the name of the creature remained, even as the being at its heart changed. Whoever is imprisoned within the soul cage, their goal remains the same. Tortured by the agony of the Bilebog's poisons, they must seek out and consume another soul, praying that takes their place within the rank prison. Not all souls are created equal, at least not as far as the spirit of the Bilebog is concerned. The one devoured must be considered worthy by the wicked marshland spirit, or the original prisoner's sentence will continue. Because of this, the thing commonly known as Urost typically seeks out great heroes and warriors, and will stop at nothing to consume them. In this, Urost is aided by its near invincible, its roots, bones, and flesh, reknitting after each blow. The poisons which suffice it are lethal and can be unleashed not only to wreak further mayhem, but to allow Urost to experience a moment's catharsis when it shares its pain with others. In their delusions, some individual trapped within the soul cage seek out dark magicians and practitioners of undead magic, believing they might hold the knowledge of their release. Such hope is a vain one, however. Many undead allies have learned to use desperation in their favor, forming alliances with the rancid creation. What some fail to realize is that, when their promises aren't kept, Urost is implacable, hunting them down as it was when aiding them. Whenever Urost succeeds in devouring a worthy foe, the cycle begins anew, and the curse resets itself. And all the while, the swampy Bilebog itself continues to grow the marshland's bounds, reaching out to turn fields rotten, make wells stagnant, and consume the villages and farms. If it remains unchecked, one day in the very distant future, all of Anhel may be reduced to a featureless, festering morass, and the evil at Urost's heart will reign supreme. Well, okay, that was a bit of a dark, interesting story for Urost, guys. Drop me a comment down below on what you think for the lore story for Urost the Soulcage, and thanks so much for watching.